All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating set of notes based on some incredible source material with a title that is, frankly, pretty bold: How to Get Whatever You Want. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Come on, that sounds like a massive exaggeration, right? But stick with me here, because the framework we're going to break down today is shockingly simple in its execution. We're not talking about some overly complex algorithm or an exhausting daily routine. It's actually about making one fundamental shift in how you operate every single day.
So, before we really get into the nuts and bolts of this framework, I want you to ask yourself a question. If you had to pinpoint just one single skill, like one absolute master art in life to learn extremely well, above your technical skills, way above your time management hacks, above literally everything else, what would it be? What's that one core action that separates the people who get exactly what they want from the folks who just end up constantly frustrated? Well, hold that thought, because the answer's coming right up, and it's absolutely going to reframe how you look at your goals.
The answer is ask. Yep, that's it. That is literally the secret to the entire formula. Just ask. I'm going to pause for a second just to let the sheer simplicity of that one word really sink in. According to these notes, if there is one art in life you absolutely have to master, it's the art of asking. But what does ask actually mean in this context? At its core, asking just means defining exactly what it is that you want. The whole framework boils down to ask and receive. And it is honestly wild how many of us completely skip over this fundamental first step.
The source material draws a really interesting distinction here between two types of people, and I bet we've all seen this play out. On one hand, you have the good worker. This is the person who wakes up, grinds hard every single day, really puts their back into it, but they don't have a single scrap of paper with their actual goals written on it. Sure, they're a fantastic worker, but they are an incredibly poor asker. If you want to actually achieve your dreams, it's just not enough to put your head down and work hard. You've got to be more than just a good worker. You have to actively become a good asker.
And the notes break down exactly why asking is that crucial, vital first step. So let's look at the first of three key mechanics we're covering today. Asking is literally the beginning of receiving. The moment you ask, you automatically trigger this unique mental and emotional process. Think of it like this. It is exactly like pushing a big start button on a massive piece of machinery. Step 1, you ask. Step 2, that internal machinery starts whirring to life. And step 3, you receive. But here's the kicker. That whole process, it cannot start until you actively push the button by asking.
Now, you might be sitting there wondering, okay, but how exactly does this mental and emotional machinery actually work? Well, the source material gives us a pretty fantastic perspective on this. You honestly don't even need to know how it works. All you need to know is that it does work. Look at it this way. Some people waste way too much time studying the roots of a tree, right? They're down in the dirt trying to figure out all the deep, complex mechanics of the root system. Meanwhile, other people just walk right up and enjoy picking the fruit. The notes are basically telling us, don't overcomplicate the whole shebang. Your goal is just to start the process and be the person who gets to pick the fruit.
Which brings us right into the second major point of this formula. Get this. Receiving is actually not the problem at all. Receiving is just the automatic outcome of that machinery we just talked about. So if receiving is automatic, what on earth is the problem? What's holding us back? The major obstacle, the real bottleneck in this entire system, is simply our own failure to ask. If you're out there not getting what you want in life, you kind of have to check yourself and ask, have I actually clearly asked for it? Because failure to ask might literally be your one major problem.
And that leads us perfectly to the third key point, which is beautifully captured in this quote from the notes. Receiving is like the ocean. Success is not in short supply. You've really got to internalize this idea that success isn't this strictly rationed thing. It's not like you're stepping up to some tiny little distribution window only to have someone tell you, sorry pal, we're all fresh out of success for today. No way. It is vast. It is incredibly abundant. It's exactly like standing in front of a massive, endless ocean. There is more than enough for absolutely everyone. But if it's true that success is this giant ocean, it kind of exposes a pretty absurd flaw in how most of us operate. Picture this. Some people walk all the way down to this massive, limitless ocean of success, and they bring a tiny little teaspoon. It's a ridiculous mental image, right? When you realize the sheer size of the ocean of opportunity sitting right in front of you, you've got to trade in that teaspoon for at least a bucket. And hey, you'll even look better down at the beach. I promise you, nobody is going to make fun of you for bringing a bucket to the ocean. You have to upgrade your capacity to receive. And you do that by completely changing how you ask.
Okay, so how exactly do we ask? Well, there are two golden rules to goal setting and asking. And here is rule number 1. Ask with intelligence.
Now, just to be clear, the notes say ask with intelligence, but I think it's safe to say it really means you need to ask intelligently. What does that actually look like? It means do not mumble to the universe. You are not going to get anything by mumbling or being all vague about it. Intelligent asking requires you to define and describe exactly what you want. You have to be crystal clear and highly specific with your requests.
Let's actually look at the exact metrics of what intelligent asking looks like. You need to be able to rapid-fire answer these kinds of questions about your goals. How wide, how high, how soon, what size, what color, how much. You have to define it and describe it down to the absolute last detail. And why does all this specific stuff matter? Because perfectly described goals act like a giant magnet. They literally pull you right in their direction. And the better, the more intelligently and the more specifically you describe them, the stronger that magnetic pull is going to become. All right, so once you've clearly defined exactly what you want, we arrive at rule number 2, ask with faith. This is such a fascinating duality in the formula. See, as adults, we are just naturally skeptical, right? We constantly doubt everything. But to make this framework actually work, you have to embrace the childish part of the equation. You absolutely must believe that you can get what you want with the pure, unwavering faith of a kid. So, the ultimate framework looks exactly like this. Make your plans and set your highly specific goals like an adult, but believe in them entirely like a child. If you can combine that intelligent adult planning with childlike faith, I'm telling you the most incredible things are going to happen.
So here is the challenge laid out directly by the source material: 90 days. The notes suggest testing this wildly simple framework for just 90 days. I mean, commit to trading in your little teaspoon for a bucket. Commit to writing down exactly what it is you want, asking intelligently, and believing in it like a kid. Seriously, what do you have to lose? Just try it. If it absolutely doesn't work for you, you can always go right back to your old ways. But give this process 90 uninterrupted days and just see what happens when you let that machinery start working for you. Which really leaves us with one final, vital question. That massive ocean of success is sitting right in front of you, and the machinery is just waiting to be turned on. So, over the next 90 days, are you going to keep sitting in the dirt studying the roots with a tiny teaspoon in your hand, or are you finally going to step up, be a doer, and ask for the fruit?